That's a good place to start. We found it.
You're watching Geekcaster, and we're talking about jobs and how it kind of bridges almost a relationship. And people complain, and it's like, then change your life.
Yeah.
Make that move.
If anybody's ever seen that movie Office Space, you guys ever seen that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Office Space, just to bring people up to speed real quick. We were discussing just before the show pretty much just the real life premise of Office Space. If you're in a life doldrum, right? If you're in a place where you have a 9-to-5 job, but that job drains you. The people, could be the sequence of events of what you do in that job. After a point, naturally people want to do other things, right? It's one of the most human impulses on earth to want to have purpose and drive.
Right.
And so waking up every day and just feeling like that pep of, we're about to get something done.
Right.
When you don't get that, you become kind of like a zombie. You become a slug, right? And I think with the right amount of progressive action, I'm kind of iffy on that term. With the right amount of, positive forward, momentum that you give yourself, you can pretty much, double up on jobs, find something else. That was the general premise of what we were going with. So we just said we were going to record, and we were running with that. But yeah, I agree. At the end of the day, it's what I think we were swirling around is the idea of you're the determining factor of whether that doldrum continues or if that doldrum becomes whatever becomes your passion, whatever that next new career is or that new move is.
And in this era where everyone talks about wellness and trauma, and we love to throw these words out there, but personal responsibility. And I mean, and that phrase can go into so many things the government, but personal responsibility. What are you doing about it? Oh, I don't like my job. All right, we'll change it. Oh, this relationship, well, then leave it. You got to do something because at some point, then what are you doing?
Yeah, and while that sounds like an oversimplification, just leave your job because that's kind of thing where the point where we were a little stuck.
Right.
It's the idea, well, didn't you leave your job? On paper, it's that simple. Right. You're correct. But everyone, like I was saying before, needs to keep their lights on. Right? We got to keep food in the fridge. We got to keep our lights on. People want to be able to have clothes and all that stuff, be able to afford their colognes. But, it's a little, despite those complications, I would say that in my personal experience, hardest part's getting started.
Right.
It's like building up that momentum to just say, all right, you know what? Step 1, look for new gigs. Step 2, put your resume out there. Step 3, ask people who you know in this field on what other jobs could be available that you might like.
Right.
All that flows from that first action.
And the funny thing about, but I do have to say that a lot of times when you do have your resume, you do do the work, you do put it out there. Some people don't get the response. And then not only that, you see where jobs will hire someone else that is so low qualified to the point where it's like nepotism. Either nepotism involved or they just try not pay you because you have all these skills and you know so much now to the point that they are fear of them losing their jobs.
It could be some kind of utilitarian angle like that where it's, we've spoken on this before. They'd rather have 4 less qualified newbies than one skilled person doing the same job because they don't have to pay the 4 people that they brought in as much as the skilled person. So, but again, it's just you got to find that inroad, man. Just find that inroad.
And then it's kind of stupid because you see how some of these production companies, these film departments, some of these producers, perfect example, way Disney had to lay off their producers who happens to be activists. All of them.
They had to. Or they chose to.
I think it's like they chose to.
Okay.
Or they
either, we don't know, but yeah, I'm going to throw that one out there.
Because it's like, okay, then why did you get activists as film producers? Why you couldn't get somebody that was neutral?
Because that was kind of the angle. That was the push at the time. It still kind of is the push, but it's the idea of these people have more of a message than a viable product.
Mm-hmm.
That product is trash and people don't buy it. It's like, all right, get out of here. We'd rather have the I do it.
Which is kind of stupid.
So, I mean, actually, David, so from your experience, I've known you for a while. Actually, ever since I known you, you were talking about this kind of stuff. If you don't mind, going into it. what has people's response say when you that, hey, I'm not feeling this job? Like, what do people normally say?
Either, oh, you got to deal with it because either not deal with it, but it's different types of responses. It's like, oh, you got a pension, you might as well stick with it because ain't nothing else good to come out of it than this. Because guess what? I don't want nothing. Like they don't want you to leave something with a pension to embark in something else, and then you fall flat in your face. But that's the gamble of society. That's the gamble of the real world. You're going to fall on your face. You don't want to be. Because let me tell you something. Security sometimes could be a damper because of the fact that you have the skill and you're not able to, whatever your skill is, whatever you went to school for or whatever, and your work is something opposite or something that's not in your, let's say, realm of expertise, but that's where your bread and butter is right now. And then you feel as though you can't get out because of the fact that either A, you do feel like something holding you back and it may not be you. Because some people can do X, Y, and Z and nothing is being done. Like, for example, you could do resumes, you could go out to events where these people going, but nobody's really pulling the trigger because either A, either they don't know you like that, or B, they could be fearing or at fear of you because of your expertise.
Oh, like gatekeeping is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with every kind of profession and like you can say like social community, there's an element of people that are going to gatekeep and be like, oh no, this is for us. Only let in people that you know. Only let in fam. Then I guess it dovetails into the nepotism too. I guess it could.
Yeah.
But again, man, just the same. It's work the angles that you have. Whatever personal skills. If you're good at just talking to people, use that.
You know,
and then also like depending on, I think, and this is really good for the entrepreneurs out there, the wannabe business owners out there, the artists, the creatives out there. It's a very important conversation to kick around with people that you know and that you trust, and to like take in different perspectives because, you know, Dayveonne, the thing is, the things you ultimately want to do, like you're working in a field that you're not interested in, right? The things you really want to do are totally different. So it's not like, hey, my name is fill in the blank and I push this red button and I got to push this red button until I'm 65 so I can get the, get the certificate and the little trophy and call it a day. You actually have things that you want to do and want to achieve, and you might have to let go some security so that way you have the ability to grab on to something else that you really want. Maybe holding on so much this way is stopping you from putting the time and energy, and maybe not. I mean, these are things that you have to kind of, and other people out there have to kind of figure out, like how much the goals, the dreams, the things that I want to do, can I do it? Am I willing to do what it takes to make that happen? And really, it's a gamble. Life is a gamble. You know, you're never really going to know until you go for it.
Like, it is, and either you take the risk or you don't take the risk. And then not only that, you may have stuff that's going on behind the scenes, not just at the workplace, but at home. And, and it may make a damper or some type of huge challenge for you.
It's like, no, life being life, bro. When you stacked up, like, a couple extra G's, and then right as and it's just so going to happen to cost you a couple extra G's that you just got. And it's like, all right, great. That's life doing its thing. But,
or a family emergency where certain situations occur and you have no choice but to take care of a loved one or loved ones.
I think that's the beauty of the stereotypical New York, and actually California too, with the the writer, the actor, or the model, and they're working at restaurants and they're doing all these little odd jobs because they're focusing on their big break. That whole, it's a trope, but it's also real. But you got to give those individuals props that at the end of the day, all the things they're doing for money are placeholders. It's not what they want to do. So they don't really take it that serious because ultimately they have their eye on the prize.
A little bit there, 7.
Yeah.
Eye on the prize. All right, we got you back, I think. It's still posting, but we got the audio.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is kind of like that old thing of, the person who moved from like Midwest America to California, now they're doing like they're barista. I don't knock it. I know I say that with like kind of like a cheeky tone, but I'm not knocking it at all. If you make it work, there's plenty of people who are in the industry, not necessarily like actors and stuff, but people who've made their way into the industry or whatever they were looking for, based on just that type of a menial, like 9-to-5 gig.
Right.
Waitress, waiter, Uber driver, until they get that break. It's work those angles, man. I applaud it.
So in short, Dayveonne, whatever you want to do, you can do it.
Whatever
you want to do.
Well, I mean, you got started on the topic. You gave us our topic for the day.
You gave us our topic.
Yeah, you gave us our thing.
But this is just for everybody in general, not just me, but
of course,
those who's in the same struggle or similar.
Yeah, that's a lot of things, bro. It's most of it, I would say. Just trying to make
it's real.
Figure it out.
I mean, I think everybody, myself included, everybody has to do a certain amount of things to keep the lights on, and it's just a reality. Or to even just invest in their personal brand and or their company. It is what it is. One thing I would say, to put myself out there, I refuse to be miserable on the journey, because it's a journey, and ultimately we don't know where things are going to land. So, to spend the next 20, 30 years being miserable, knowing this is over here what you really want to do, you got to try to figure out some sort of more of a balance. So that way, your needs are met, but also you're still enjoying your life.
Yeah, you have to mitigate whatever those scary big choices might be, moving to a different state or city or country or whatever, quitting a job for a new one. There's always that kind of like period of not knowing, right? That's scary. That's scary for a lot of people, especially as we were talking about before, the whole like being in a pattern, a doldrum type of thing. Change is scary. But it's like after a point, you just got to kind of nut up and be like, you know what? Let me see if I can juggle this real quick, and then that'll be the new norm. Let's go through this change, this transition, this difficult period, and then that can be what is our new norm. Yeah. So,
and people will talk junk. Well, why'd you do that? Well, why'd you change why'd you leave that job? You know what? It's your life.
That's them speaking. People that say that's them speaking from their state of doldrum.
Right.
They couldn't fathom uprooting their norm like that way that you're doing. So they're always going to kind of speak from a place of caution. Not necessarily like talk you out of it or to like neg you, but just, I couldn't do that because in my situation, I just can't. Pieces X, Y, and Z have to be aligned in such a way. It's like, that's you. That's your situation.
Yeah.
But, and some people they thrive on being safe.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people like need that thing of safety. And if they see other people making moves, that puts them ill at ease.
But then when people achieve success, it's like, they have a.
then itself there's a line that's towed. See what happens when you just kind of cast your need for the norm aside and just go with what you want. Not everybody can do that,
right?
But you do have success cases of it.
Yeah,
100%.
And it's just not telling everybody to, I'm saying for those who basically experiencing in that format. Sometimes you have to take risks to basically pursue it. And then there's people that luck up that something just come like this and they got it.
Well, let me ask you this. Are you willing to do what you need to do for yourself to be happy?
It's a challenge, but I'm going to have to.
And Drew don't play.
I mean, we make it work, bro. We all got jobs. We all pay bills.
Right.
It's the idea of no grind. You have your day job grind. You have your side grind, and then it's like until you make that personal project, right? That thing that you want to do, like an action figure line, for example, is kind of like my next big endeavor. I want to make my own original characters into an action figure line. That takes doing. As I'm researching and like looking up how to do it, it's like, okay, this is going to take work, but I love the profession enough. I love the medium enough to where I'm going to invest this time, this energy, this money into making this happen.
Right.
It's scary. It's uncertain some months, but it's like, no, it's what we're going to do until we get to that next echelon.
Yeah. And the reason why I think I'm bringing it up, because we see so much going on with the whole Hollywood situation, with the music industry, and the way things are looking is not looking good, because they're going to have to get fresh new blood involved. You got actors and musicians passing away. The whole Diddy situation, we don't know where that's going, because there are certain people that's not coming out. And there are people that's coming out but low key and not revealing who they are. So we don't know where this direction goes.
I mean, it's kind of like this thing periodically happens where you have waves of people who are like titans in the industry who die, who retire, who get put in jail. But it kind of seems like what Hollywood's going to do, this pattern repeats. They're going to find a new crop of kids. They usually start young because they like to take them in young, and the fresh faces that they know that they can market, and they'll be the ones that we see in everything. They'll be the new Pedro Pascal. They'll be the new what's her name, Zendaya. You just see her in everything to the point where you're just sick of her. Like, yeah. And then that'll be the next generation. That'll be the next 10, 20 years of Hollywood.
And I think that's one of the killing parts of Hollywood. It's like you're recycling the same people to play different roles. You're recycling the same actors and actresses and not giving other people a shot and seeing where things go. It's like, and I have to say production part, it's not.
But not to go to a whole nother topic, because I think we should do a whole show just on that. I think that is a great thing to do a deep dive, but for your own life and your own happiness. 'Cause I think ultimately that's what we're talking about, is like happiness, personal happiness, contentment, figuring out a way, how can I be content? And then still work towards your...
See, I like that word more, because happiness is like...
Yeah.
It's a very fleeting thing, and too many people, I'm really sick of this plight that happiness for a lot of people is this constant bliss, that nothing's ever supposed to go wrong. I don't want us to think that that's what like the pursuit of happiness actually is, because I don't think it's real.
Right.
Happiness is something that happens in very rare instances, and the rest of the time we're just working to be content. Or at the very least calm and cool with our situation.
Right.
You know? So,
because there's a romance on the journey. I mean, I look back, and Dayveonne, you mentioned something real deep like 2 shows ago. You were talking about like just advice like from your mom and things in the industry, and you were like, you know, maybe it's a good thing I wasn't a child star or became famous younger, because now you're a lot wiser now and everything. Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember saying that.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, I think there are entertainers and there are artists, and I make two different things in that. Those that just love creation, like Drew, you're very much a businessman. Like you got this business brain, but you're also very much an artist. Like you want to be creative with it. You just don't want to throw things out there in the machine, in the mill.
I'd say I'm the opposite, dude. I try to be analytical, but I'm not at all business minded. I very much delve in the realm of ideas. And there it's like, okay, how do we logically make these ideas into a thing or a tangible product?
But like off the show, and you were sharing some stuff with me, which I won't say on the show, but like your plans and stuff. But I would just say, like, you could hear the joy in your voice of like, yeah, I'm doing this. And I got this idea. You know.
Oh yeah. That's the fuel. That's what makes you want to get up and grind on that job and that second job, because I freelance, right? So it's like that's what keeps you pretty much invigorated. It makes you want to get up, because if you, what was that movie? James McAvoy. It was another James McAvoy movie. Not quite superhero stuff, but it was based off of a superhero graphic novel. It was called Wanted.
Oh yeah.
Remember, that was like the theme of that one. He was working a 9-to-5 job. He was having what he thought was panic attacks.
Yeah.
Right, but he hated his job. He hated the people he was around. His girlfriend was a complete pain in the ass. Chris Pratt was like his alleged. He's not
allowed to say the B word.
He was caught in that doldrum, and he didn't want to stir things up until Morgan Freeman and Angelina Jolie show up. It's kind of it's on that same.
Right.
Well, it's just, as you going on that, it reminded me of that, to where, God, it could turn into like a misery. Waking up is every day is exactly the same, like the 9 Inch Nails song goes.
Right.
And that's your life.
That's a good song.
That's a help to some people.
That's a bagging song. Look that up, 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, I think that's it. I guess that's, when I hear you just, as a comrade, right? As I hear you say certain things, it's like, Drew is right. There's no like this magical bliss, but people run to drugs because they want to be in this bliss all the time. It's not real.
Happiness.
Right.
Yeah,
but the thing is, it's like, you also shouldn't be at the opposite end of the spectrum too, where every day you're dreading going to this job, and then when you leave the job, it's still in your mind because you're thinking about all the stress that just happened. And it's like, I don't know if people ever do this, but if you calculate all the hours of that dread for how many hours in a week, and how many hours in a month, and how many hours in a year, and then times that by like the next 20 years or however you think you're going to be there, that's a lot. That's too much. So the thing is, it's like, at least I think it's too much. It's a personal choice. But I would say that, like, you look at it and like, well, can I earn some sort of income in a situation where I could figure out more hours of that creative juice, that creative fire, that moments of bliss, because I'm going towards my goals and my dreams. And then you hit the marker, great, you won, yay. And if you don't, and that's not for you, the universe says no, you still had all these beautiful moments, this beautiful creativity. Picasso wasn't chilling. I mean, you name a lot of people that unfortunately had a rough road as far as with creativity, but they had their moments too. They didn't die with any moments, so.
They also weren't trying to record all those moments on a phone. I think Picasso spent a lot more time. As wild as Picasso's style was,
there's no social media.
Yeah, we have a lot more distractions too. That's the big thing, I think.
Yeah.
The difference between like people who were famous artists, like your Picassos, like your musicians, like your Vivaldis and all that, they spent a lot less time engrossed in all the crap and all the dreck that we're obsessed with and that we're kind of stuck on. So it's also, I guess, what I'm boiling down to, it's like mitigating and controlling your time. Take less time for the day-to-day dreck and the herd mentality stuff, like so your social media and all that stuff. Spend it more on what you want your craft to be. You draw more, right? If you're a writer, write more. If you're a musician, play your instrument more.
Right.
That with perfecting your craft, as opposed to being among the people. Hey guys, I have stuff. I want to be famous. You should follow me here. Like, follow, and subscribe. That takes time out of what could be your craft.
Right.
So
because that's some people's craft. We're just
and if that's your thing too, selling other people's stuff. Hey man, you should follow. That's what, a promoter, like a promoter kind of.
An influencer is a promoter.
Slash con artist. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'm like that. That's a fine line too, because influencers are just people that take pictures of themselves online and then say, "Here, hit like, please give me attention. My parents don't give it to me, so I'm out here." Like that's There's a difference.
Right. Or
Promoter, influencer,
and a con artist. There's something.
and con artist. Yeah, they all kind of swirl in this weird. They're all in the same room together. Not one doesn't quite know what the other one is, but yeah.
Right. What's the phrase that? Oh man, they use it a lot where it's not a gradient scale. Gradient scale. What do they say? The
Not sure.
They usually say it. They usually use it towards sexuality. It's like scale. I don't know. What are you hipsters, bipsters?
I know, like the Bell scale, like the bell curve or something like that.
Yeah, like they say, like things overlap.
Active. Or
I'm gonna Google.
This is gonna bug me to figure it out now.
Are
But
you talking about the him?
It's a phrase that a lot of people say now to the point of annoyance, also. But it almost kind of works with this one where. Hold on a second.
I'm saying it. I don't even know what he's talking about. I'm
not sure. We can find it later. It's not.
Yeah. It's not a thing. Anyway, before this show is over, basically, have this conversation with yourselves, with your friends, with your family. Figure out also ultimately what makes you happy, still keeps you safe, gives you the things that you need, that you could find a certain level of contentment. So that way you could focus on the things that you want to really do, like for real. Because, I mean, look at this, the hurricanes, in Florida. Look, like we don't really know all the stuff going on, all the energies talking about war, and you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So take advantage of each day, and just do your best, see what happens, and then start again the next day. But you definitely don't want to be distracted from the things that you are allegedly passionate about. Because it's also the test, right, Drew? Because if you really want to do stuff, you figure out a way to do it. And if you don't, it's like, well, do you really want to do that? Or
there's got to be, a measure of pain that you're willing to endure, and then a measure of like your time that you sacrifice to get it done.
Right.
You can bridge and you can kind of like traverse past that point. It's like, okay, this is a thing. It goes from a passion to like a profession.
Right.
That makes any kind of sense.
Right. Yeah. Because how many people say, I want to be a millionaire and I want this and I want to be a star. And what are you doing to get it?
Doing what? Yeah. When you ask them doing what, based on what? Or just existing. I took a hot picture. I'm like, what? Okay, I guess. I made a dance.
I played a video game and I like it, so now I'm a gamer. Oh, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to.
Gamers on weekends and when it's convenient, there's something new that's trending out. Sure, maybe. If all the kids playing it, I'll play it for a week and try to get whatever likes I can get off of it. That tends to be most of them.
Yeah.
I'm a gamer.
So hopefully people. Dayveonne, anything you want to say to the people out there at the end of this episode? We got a few seconds.
I'm just pretty much going to say this. I'm not saying quit your day job. I'm saying do what makes you happy. Find something that makes you happy. Find that happiness, like Michael said, like Andrew said. Try to focus more on what you're trying to pursue. And when you get to that, you will find your happiness once you get to that, what you're trying to pursue. But until then, you stick with what you got for the moment. But remember, this is just only to pay the bills.
Or leave it what you got if it makes you... The whole point is you might have to leave the temporary thing to find the contentment. Don't just stay there, because you can sit there forever and never reach your goal. Or you got to go.
You spend a lot of time in trying to just make that balancing act work. At some point, I think the term is poop or get off the pot.
Yeah.
When you hit that point, because we're on PG-13 time, just make that dive if you think that you're ready for it, if you really want it. That's the big thing.
Awesome. Geekcaster. We're out.